guys. Welcome to episode 5 of the Soulscast. This is all about Dark Souls 2. I am Adam Blue. With me, Shane Norton. Hello, Shane.
Hello. Howdy.
So, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you'll see that there's no longer our video. It's very time-consuming for me, and I want to focus on just getting. I think we're really. The show is just improving every time. I think it just seems cool every time, and so I just want to keep improving that. But also, like, I'll sit there and edit the video, and I really just want to play a game. And I guess that's part of it too. But anyway, no, like I said, this is the Soulscast episode 5 on Dark Souls 2. Every Monday or Tuesday, every Monday we record, comes out on Tuesdays. You can find on bluegamer.net. I'll post, a link to the podcast, but also on SoundCloud. You can now search for Soulscast. I have the first 4 episodes up, and I'll start putting them up on SoundCloud. That's kind of seems like a popular place of choice for people putting podcasts nowadays, so I wanted to jump on that. We actually got 7 listens within the few hours that I had uploaded them, so that's actually pretty good. I think it's just an easy discovery tool for podcasts.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, because you can tag them and everything.
Yeah,
it's really cool. So you can find me on Twitter at Adam Blue, Instagram Adam R Blue, YouTube Blue Gamer, and Shane.
Kalameet on Instagram, Kalameet. The same on Twitter. Replace the L with a 1. YouTube is Shane Norton. There's a couple Shane Nortons. Just look for the one with the beer picture, and I have right now maybe 30 videos. So I'm easy to find. At some point, maybe I should try to make myself easier to find on YouTube. Apparently, you can't just go and change your YouTube name because it's linked to your Google account. So you have to either delete your YouTube and create a new one, and it just seems like a big hassle.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. As big as Google is and YouTube is, they haven't really figured it out. I had to do the thing where I had to link my Blue Gamer YouTube to my Blue Gamer Google Plus page. It was not a profile, but a page, and it was all a mess. And then I can get a custom URL, but for YouTube I can't use Blue Gamer if I'm going to use the same URL for Google Plus, but the Blue Gamer is taken on Google Plus. So I'm
that's
just
a pain.
I'm just F it, whatever.
That
Anyway, as I said, this is the Dark Souls 2 episode, so it's kind of timely. It's like with the shows in the beginning, I kind of want us to focus on just getting the basics out of the way, as if there's no sudden news the Dark Souls 3 rumors. But we talked about Bloodborne, Dark Souls 2 now. I actually just beat it over the weekend, and this is now. Am I saying is it Scholar of the First Sin?
Yes.
Scholar of the First Sin, which
Scholar of the First Sin.
Yeah, and it's my bad. I don't really keep up with the lore as I play like I should. It's usually afterwards, and I don't even remember pronounce names right. That's not until afterwards when I'm researching. I'm so stressed about playing that I don't even pay attention to anything. I'm just that fucking scorpion bitch. I hate her. That's kind of how it turns out. But anyway, well, let's start with our experiences with Dark Souls 2, and I want to start with the vet since you pretty much play them at release. So
yeah, basically.
So you played Dark Souls 2, but you only played the original version first.
Yeah, I got it the day it came out, March last year. I got it on PS3, the Black Armor Edition, which is the middle ground of, it's a step up from the normal edition, but it's not the really awesome limited edition with that statue and all that other stuff. And it was still $60. It was the same price. So I got that, and I played it, pretty obsessively from whenever I got it in March until I got the Platinum sometime in May. And then I put it down until the DLCs came out, and I played through those as they were released. So I was playing through it until maybe September, the last one was released. And once I finished the 3rd DLC, I haven't played it yet. And I haven't played the Scholar of the First Edition. I'm going to buy it on PS4 at some point, and then I'll play through it again at least once. But that's my background with it, at any rate.
Well, and let me ask you, so with the DLC, did you a DLC would come out, and then did you use your character in New Game Plus or New Game?
Yeah, I was in New Game Plus Plus. It was my third playthrough, so the DLCs were incredibly difficult for me. I think that's part of the reason because I was already, I was already in the third playthrough. But they would come out and I would buy them, and then I don't know exactly how it works in the Scholar of the First Sin edition, but when you're buying the DLC, you buy it and then you get an item in your inventory that unlocks
Yeah.
where the portal where the DLC would start.
Right.
And I don't know how it works in the new edition, but that's how I did it.
Yeah, and so I guess we'll get into how I played it, and I can explain how it works in Scholar. But so basically, after I played Bloodborne in April, I beat it in April. In May, I played Dark Souls and beat it. So then, in June, Dark Souls 2, and I beat it. I didn't beat all the DLC, but I played through the majority of all the DLC. It is a lot harder. And it is amazing. I love the DLC. So how it works is you actually have to get the keys to get to the portals. Like I came across the portals as I played. A lot of them are at I think they're called the primordial bonfires.
Yeah,
something like
Primal,
that.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Primal. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and then so once you're there, there's like some of the areas. There's like an opening to where there's the portal with the snake fountain, whatever. And then I think over in the winter, and I forget what it's called. There's like an obvious one right there, but the only way to access it was with a key, and without having to try to get them. Just later on in the game, probably after the second half. If I remember correctly, I saw in my inventory I had these random keys, and that's what they were for. So I was able. So what I did was, like I said, I beat the game over the weekend. It was about a week ago. I actually was right at the last boss. I just didn't know I was.
All right.
So what happened was I was like, well, I'm about to beat the last boss. I figured I had some more stuff to do. So I went and I did the giant memories. Or whatever. Yeah. I didn't know that was optional, unless it's not optional.
No, there's one you have to do where you fight the giant lord.
Yeah.
But there's like 3 others, maybe 2 or 3 others, and those are optional.
Okay. Yeah. So, and to be honest, for some of that, I had to like look up what do I do next because I really had no idea, and so I ended up going to all of them. Anyway, and then I went to the boss, beat it. I beat it on my first try, but I actually co-opted it. I didn't know. That's where I was going. I want to try again without it because it seemed like it would be hard because the last boss does cursing. So you're like, cursed. And that was crazy. It was a cool looking boss too. But anyway, so I beat it, and what I like about it, we'll get on this later. Anyway, so yeah, from my experience about Dark Souls 2, I beat it over the weekend. Had a good time with it. I played through just like I did Bloodborne and Dark Souls. So with that out of the way. Since you played the vanilla, I wanted to go through some of the differences between them. Now, I'll say a few things, and then you can fill in others, because I kind of did a little bit of research on it. So,
all right.
So apparently how it started was Dark Souls 2, like I guess in the middle of development, it didn't... I guess it wasn't panning out the way they thought, and they had to change some things around. So the game isn't like... not everything's connected like Dark Souls, although I never saw that as really a bad thing. I just saw it as that's just how Dark Souls 2 is doing it, right? So, what they did was, even though they released the original one in 2014, it wasn't exactly what they wanted. So, DLC came out that was more in line with what they wanted, and yeah, the DLC does feel different. And then, so Scholar of the First Sin came out in 2015. And they changed enemy placement. They changed where you get items. Enemy placement where you get items. Okay, a lot of it is lore, which I think is a big deal. They changed lore around. And to be honest, I haven't even read through it because it's one of those things where I'll just go onto Reddit after I play the games and just read like what did everything mean. So and you had a few other things on here that, you were saying something about the Guardian Dragon. Oh, that's right. So, so that's pretty crazy. So in Hyde's Tower of Flame, there's a dragon there. And it wasn't there before. Now that where that dragon is, there's a switch to go to the Blue Cathedral, I think it's called.
Yep. Yeah.
So before, was there just nothing there? You could just go walk up to the switch and.
I think it was. I think it was just one of those big giant knights
Okay.
that you. I think you had to kill him to make the switch come up, or maybe you didn't have to kill him, but
yeah.
it was just a big knight, just the same as the other knights that are in
Okay.
that area.
Now, and this could be because I'm bad, but it actually took me a while before I could kill the dragon because his flames would just decimate me. It would, throw
Oh
me
yeah.
back. I'd get up, start
Yeah.
walking, and throw me back again. I mean, even when I killed him, I feel like I cheesed it. I just put on fire resistant stuff and then had enough health to get over to
Oh, there's
him.
nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. That's fine.
Yeah, and so, but anyway, another thing is apparently this game was made in a new engine, from what I understand. But maybe not like as
really?
extreme as like going, from like Quake 3 engine to like I don't know, the Cry engine, but like,
Yeah.
it runs fantastic. And
Yeah.
Dark Souls had problems on PC. Scholar of the First Sin plays amazing, and this is funny. So I bought the special edition of Dark Souls 2 on PC. They had one at GameStop for $40 or $45 with the
Nice.
statue, everything.
Pretty good.
It didn't sell, so they opened it and had the statue on display. So that's why
Oh,
it was
all right.
discounted. So I didn't mind. But anyway, even though I got it and
that's
installed
awesome.
it, the Scholar of the First Sin on Steam was a $30 upgrade. Now,
Yeah.
to be honest, I didn't mind. Considering the price of the game new, all the DLC, that's still
Yeah.
a fair price. And what's cool about on Steam, and it's actually like this on the consoles if you think about it too, since it's separate releases, there are in Steam, it's separate instances of the game, separate achievements. So it's like two whole different
Yeah.
games. So it's not like just all the DLC and everything. It's just like a whole other game. And you don't see that much. You don't ever really see that
Yeah,
much. I think that kind of like,
that's pretty different.
even though like that would kind of make me upset if you already had like this new game plus character, but then like you had to play
Yeah.
a whole new game. I could see where that would bother me, but I feel like they really cared to deliver something to the Souls fans. They really cared about the game. If they went through and made
Yeah,
all those changes.
I think they did. I think it's cool that they released it. I mean, I know it's I guess like a trend where a lot of like last gen games are being re-released, on the current gen. But they did add a lot of things and they changed a lot of things around, and it's got at least a slight graphical upgrade, I assume, going
Yeah.
from like PS3 to PS4 and all that. So I
Lighting
don't
and
know.
stuff.
I'm gonna buy it again.
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna buy it again.
speaking of lighting, also the areas where you're supposed to use a torch, you really need the torch.
Oh,
Apparently.
okay.
Now, because I was
Yeah.
playing those areas, and it wasn't as hard as like Tomb of the Giants or anything, but there's an area that's like it reminds me of. It's the gutter, I think it is. Tomb of the Giants and Blighttown mixed. Not as hard as
Yep.
those, but that's what the gutter reminded me of. And then the
Yeah,
last,
that's a good description.
yeah, and then the last thing I wanted to mention, and I totally forgot. Well, anyway, you said you were going to get it on PS4, and it actually runs fantastic on PS4. It looks just like playing it on a high-end PC.
Good.
Yeah, I still have it on PS4. I rented it from GameFly. I haven't taken it back yet. It's yeah. Okay, anything else you wanted to talk about when it came to differences?
Let's see. I know they put in. There's like, I believe, an extra, like a final boss fight with the Scholar of the First Sin. I believe, unless I'm totally wrong, and I have no idea where that is. I don't know what it's about. And like kind of like you said with lore, I know they changed or made new item descriptions on certain things that like made more sense, or something like that. Because a lot of the item descriptions for a lot of the items are like really vague, or they like are questions like, whoa, what was this used for? Something like that. So from what I understand, I haven't played it yet, unfortunately. It clears up some of those weird item descriptions, and yeah, that's it. I can't wait to get it for PS4. Hopefully in the next. Well, I don't know when I'll get it, but whenever I do, I will play it. Definitely, I'll probably play it once. I will upload all my boss battles to my YouTube
Nice.
channel, which I'm excited to
Yes,
do. So
that would be cool. It makes it so easy on PS4 with the Twitch
yeah,
integration. I love it.
yep, yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Okay, well, okay, so the next topic I wanted to get on is the differences between DS1 and DS2, and I wanted to avoid making this about, like, versus, Dark Souls
Yeah.
versus Dark Souls 2. I think that's another podcast for another
I agree.
time. But for right now, I want to talk about the differences and what we thought about it. If Shane, if you wanted to take it away with some of the differences.
Yeah, sure. In our write up, you basically mentioned almost everything I was going to say, but
Okay.
I'll start with something that I think we might have briefly talked about in the very first episode that I wanted to follow up on, and then I never got a chance because we're talking and going through things, and I'm
Yeah, you
not
know how
that great
Souls
at,
is. We talk one thing,
yeah.
you're like, oh, let's talk about this. Oh,
Yeah.
let's talk.
Yeah. You mentioned, and this was more towards the beginning of you playing Dark Souls 2, I think. You didn't like the teleportation, like being able to teleport immediately
Right.
from the bonfire. So at any rate, there's bonfire teleportation from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
The game, the leveling is definitely faster.
Mm-hmm.
Like by the time you beat Dark Souls the first time, you're probably like, I don't remember exactly, like probably level 80 or 90 or something like that. And
Right. Yeah.
Dark Souls 2, you're probably like 120, 130,
Dude.
like something, something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If not
Yeah.
if not even more.
Yeah.
And I like personally, I thought it felt more smooth, and the combat was more fluid compared to Dark Souls 1. Like Dark Souls in comparison, when I went back and played it kind of recently, it almost felt arcadey, and I don't really like to use that term. I can't think of anywhere else to say it, but I like how Dark Souls 2 controls.
What do you mean arcadey? When I think arcadey,
well,
I think
I guess,
easier.
Oh
like
no,
simplified.
I don't think. All right, so maybe not that, but like maybe I'm just thinking of the animations, like the way, like in Dark Souls, the way you run, the way you like roll and jump. It looks very, I want to say silly, I guess, and it looks a little more realistic in Dark Souls 2.
I could see that. I do think the animations when they flow into each other, it's like quicker and more to the point. And I do think, in the first Dark Souls, so I can see where the arcadey's coming in. The first Dark Souls is a lot more animated, like going from something like flippy floppy hands and arms going everywhere.
Yeah. And that's really not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it's something I liked. It looked better, it felt better, and I like the combat more. I think the combat is a little, like I said, a little more fluid. It feels a little better.
Mm-hmm.
All the games have great combat. I think Dark Souls 2 really had really, really good combat. So I think that's basically what I have. Off the top of my head.
Yeah, so the things that I noticed right off the bat, the bonfire teleportation, it's like, I like it, but at the same time, like, I liked, I don't want to make this a versus thing, but in Dark Souls, it was like a huge area and it took so long to explore. The thing with Dark Souls 2 is it has so many areas that I think the bonfire teleportation then works, because it's really about, okay, which of these 100 places do I go back to? And then you can, and everything looks different, which is pretty cool. So it's like, which do I go back to? And I like that later on, your waifu, I don't know her name, and I'm bad at that stuff. The level up lady.
The Emerald Herald?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I bet I've read that and just forgot. But, like, she gives you that feather later that you can use to go back, and unless this is not in it, where you can go back to a bonfire unlimited times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and it's funny because
kicks ass.
She gave it to me, and I read the description. I'm like, that's the same as the Homeward Bone, but like maybe I need that for something. So I'm just using up all my Homeward Bones until I decide to use the feather. But no, and then I think that it's interesting because I do think bonfire teleportation made sense in Dark Souls 2 because of how many areas they are, and then I think later on in the game, giving you the unlimited go back to last bonfire makes sense, just like in Dark Souls. You didn't
Yeah.
teleport until later, then you got the option to teleport. Like, I really think it shows how the games were different for their own way. And so, yeah, so about the stats leveling up, what I like about that is it gave me time to level up other things and try them out. Because I am not a
Uh-huh.
fan of spells. I don't know, I just like actually fighting. But
Same here.
I ended up, like, I had all this stuff, because I got everything to 40, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to do stuff for, I mean, I guess I got pyromancy stuff anyway, but I just started using just standard magic, so I could put magic on my weapon, and so I can go
Yeah,
around. And
yeah.
then I did a thing where I can turn into a table. I don't know if you've seen that. There's
I haven't used it, but
You can turn
I've
into
seen.
objects. I turned into a table. I
Yeah,
took a picture of it. I gotta upload it. I turned into a barrel, and you can run. You can run as these items.
I know it's so silly.
I wonder if it's mainly for PvP. If like you turn into a
Yeah,
table somewhere.
I'm pretty sure it is because I've seen people use it on like videos and
Oh,
PvP.
okay.
Like in the very last area, the what is it? The kiln of the first flame. That's like a big PvP area, and I've seen people use that spell, whatever the hell it is, and they look like those like spiky pillars, and then
Oh,
so it looks like it's just a pillar,
yeah.
and then it just starts running around, and it's I don't know, it almost makes me think of like Metal Gear Solid, like hiding
You're
in the
right.
boxes waiting for
No,
someone to come around.
that's exactly it. I think it's goofy, but it's still it's like nothing you're gonna use all the time. Especially like I don't know if you could like run through enemies and it not you know like obviously they're gonna see a running barrel and is the enemy gonna run after the
Yeah.
barrel? I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So other things that Dark Souls 2 did, more areas, more bosses, and I just think
Yep.
a lot of people talk bad about Dark Souls 2. I will say I like Dark Souls 1 better, but I do think Dark Souls 2 is how you do a sequel because it made a lot of changes. It to me it's like not the same thing. Like the way Bloodborne is
Yeah.
different, like to me Dark Souls 2 is different. Like I really do
Yeah.
think so. And I think that was a really good idea on their part. To really make
Yeah,
it.
I agree. It's similar enough to where it's obviously the next Souls game, but they do a lot of things correctly. Most of the complaints from Dark Souls, they either didn't change or they smoothed them out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think everything just runs a little better in Dark Souls 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say before I forget, I just said Kiln of the First Flame. That is not Dark Souls 2. That's the first Dark Souls at the very end. So I just got those two mixed up. I needed to get that out of there before
Okay,
it
good.
drove me crazy.
Then I'm not crazy
because
because I was like, maybe I didn't beat the game. I did see the credits.
no,
No,
yeah, no,
okay.
I definitely, I,
Hey, that's gonna
I,
happen. I
I'm,
mean,
I'm on a Souls podcast, and I was like, shit, that is not correct. Now, all the Souls fans would be
everyone's
like,
gonna
this guy
comment.
doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, like get this clown out of here. All right, so I know it's Dark Souls, my mistake.
What is the last part called in Dark Souls
No,
2? Isn't it like
I don't.
it's like King's Gate or something?
It's
I know that's where you go to get.
Throne
Yeah.
of Want, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I think.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds like it. Okay.
And they're both similar looking areas, like dark, like ashen, like burned. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What I wanted to get on next was, and I'm actually adding a few notes if we have time, because I think we do, about other things I wanted to touch on. But okay, I wanted to talk about what our builds were like. So like, and you said this too. So when I play these games, and like Dragon's Dogma is a game I want to get back into. I played that for a little bit, and it's kind of the same thing how I play there. When I play these games, Diablo, whatever, I'm always choosing the warrior class.
Yep.
Knight, whatever's the guy with the big sword and all the awesome killing.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do. Dark Souls, I use the Zweihander. That's how you pronounce it
Yep.
most of the time. And this one, I found a similar weapon in No Man's Wharf. It was or was it No Man's Wharf? Yeah, it was like a great altar sword, and that
Yep.
carried me through the game. I was using the fire blade for a while, the fire sword, and then I was having trouble with the Scorpion, Najka, I don't know the
Yep.
name.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Najka.
I was having such a hard time with her, and I didn't realize I just need to get the Ultra Sword, even though it's so heavy, upgrade it as much as possible, and then I was able to kill her. And
Yeah.
so it just goes back to that. And then so near the end of the game, I felt like I should use another weapon, and I came across like the twin blade looks cool, and
Yeah, that looks awesome.
I've read people say if you find the red twin blade, that one is a good one to use, and I had it, and I was like, okay, well, let me level that up, and that's what I've been using. I don't even use a shield anymore. I just dual hand the twin blade, and then
Nice.
I just own it, and I love it, and it's and I've gotten to so okay about the builds. And you can correct me if I say anything wrong. So that's the thing with Dark Souls 2. There's so many different stats to level up. Okay.
Yes.
Now
Yes, there
there's
is.
your health is like, what is that stat? VN something? I don't know. But then there's
Um,
the stat for there's vitality. It's separate, right? Or is it the other
yeah.
way around? Because I think it's vitality or whatever that makes it where your carry load is more. Like you can carry more. So
Maybe, yeah.
So what I
Let
was
me bring
doing
it up
was
here.
after I upgraded all my strength, dexterity a little more, endurance, health, I went to Vit if that's what it was or something. I don't know. Anyway, and then I upgraded that so I got it to where I was like at 60 something percent. So I was like rolling so much better. You know, I
Ha!
was like, wow, that's crazy. I like rolling so fast, and it's something that like with Bloodborne and Dark Souls, the game doesn't level you up as fast, so you don't get to try other things as much.
Yeah.
And what did you do for yours, for your build?
Um, I don't remember everything perfectly because, like I said, I haven't played it since probably not quite a year ago. I haven't played it since like maybe September of last year. But I went hard into the strength stat, and I know I leveled up my probably stamina a lot, and maybe health as well. I didn't do much for magic, so I didn't bother
Yeah.
with intelligence and all that. Um, so yeah, I was mainly strength. I went with let me see. I started the game with the halberd, which I used for maybe like the first quarter of the game roughly.
Oh, okay.
And then I found that even though it was real powerful, it was too slow. So I just went with a long sword, just a normal long sword that I
Okay.
upgraded to plus 10 that I used until the end of the game.
Wow.
After that, during my new game plus, at some point I got the Mastodon Greatsword, which is like those big giant like elephant guys. I think I got it from one of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And I upgraded that. I think I don't know to plus 10, but I upgraded it pretty high, probably to plus 10. And I'm pretty sure that's what I used for like the remainder of the game, with the rest of my new game plus, and then my next playthrough as well, because it's fast for a greatsword. Um, and it hits real hard, and it was great fun to use. So that's what I did basically for weapons. I don't remember all my stats exactly, and then as far as magic, I basically anything that could buff my weapon is like the kind of stuff I would go for.
Yeah.
I might have had a couple. I might have had a couple pyromancies, but I didn't rely on magic to do anything in the game
Yeah.
besides like weapon buffing basically.
Yeah, and it's been helping me out in DLC actually doing the weapon buffing. Just taking out some of the harder enemies a lot quicker. So yeah, so while Dark Souls 2 has more stats to level up, I think you level up faster in the game because the game wants you to use those stats, and that makes sense to me. It really does.
Yeah.
That's something else I think is very interesting that Dark Souls 2 does. Well, I want to talk about some favorite areas in the game. My
Yeah.
favorite
Me too.
area, like, so I don't know why I'm like this, but I like to make things easier for myself. That's why I always level up strength so I can just kill everything, not have to worry about it. But I like hard areas.
Yep.
One of my favorite areas is the shade something shade. Oh my god, I can't believe I don't know
Uh,
the names. It's
Shaded Woods.
Shaded
Shaded
Woods.
Woods
There you
maybe.
go. Where you're like in the fog in the woods and the
Yeah. Yeah.
guys are like invisible. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was like sweating so
I was
bad. And then
Yeah, that was not a big fan of that area.
well, then I get through that, and then there's more to the area, but there's mainly that, and then before you get to the boss, there's what I think was pretty creepy was those curse like pots, those giant curse
Oh
pots,
yeah, yeah.
and I loved hearing his demonic whispering as you're getting near them. Now I wear headphones a lot when I play, so
Yeah.
I could really hear it, but it's just a quiet area, and you could just hear demonic whispering when you go up to these, but then you get cursed. Now
Yep.
the cursing is not like it was in the first Dark Souls, where you get cursed, you die, and then you have to start over again with less health until you get a curse stone or something. Whereas in this one,
Yeah.
it lowers your health until you use not humanity, but the new thing they call it. Oh my god, I can't think of it. It's
Human effigy.
there you go, man. You're good.
Right.
At that.
Yeah.
So, so that was a favorite area. Okay, now another favorite area, and I think okay, I see you put some notes in here about this. Which one was Aldea's Keep? Was that the one with the long hallway?
That was like the big mansion where there was all like
Yes.
like monsters that were like in cages and stuff
Dude.
that he was performing experiments on. That awesome area.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so that was gonna be my next one. Yeah. Dude, I it's really a short area, but it takes so long because you're like, what the fuck? There's
Yeah.
Cyclops, which I think is the hardest enemy in the game to kill. I mean, maybe it's just me, but it's like in a
Yeah,
cage.
those big giant guys. Yeah, they're hard.
And what happened was, I finally get to the end of that hallway, and there's the double door, and I go to open it, and it slams through. It's a Cyclops, and then he's like hitting me as a phantom or invades. An invader comes in, and I'm like, what? And then I just die, and I'm like, no way. And so I do it again, and what happened was since the Cyclops went loose, he hit all the cages down. So then there's like 4 Cyclopses or 3 in that hallway.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, how am I supposed to do this?
Yeah.
I had to actually look up how to get the bonfire in there because it was a hidden wall. I don't know if you remember that.
Okay.
But because you could run from outside just to go in, which is not bad still, but it's just nice that it has the bonfire in there so you can quickly, because there's other things I found by reading about Dark Souls 2, whereas if you light all the torches, then the invaders come, and if you kill all the invaders, you can make the dragon come to life. It's just random stuff. It's like, how do I know that if I didn't read it,
Yeah.
Other than that, I want to hear what your favorite areas are.
Yeah, I wrote a little list earlier because it was something I wanted to mention. I know a lot of people, maybe that's the biggest complaint about the game, is the layout. People hate it because it's not like Dark Souls. It doesn't fold in on itself. It doesn't have these brilliant shortcuts and all that. Dark Souls has for the most part, a great layout. Most of the areas are really cool. But Dark Souls 2 is almost more like Demon Souls, where Demon Souls has the Nexus, and then there's just different levels that go out of that, basically. So there's no there's shortcuts within the levels, but there's no shortcut back to the Nexus or whatever. Dark Souls 2 layout never was a problem for me. I thought it was cool. I like the fact that it's very, very varied. There's lots of very different, interesting areas that they've never done in the Souls games. Besides Aldea's Keep, which I thought was great and has some pretty cool lore attached to it, if I remember all the lore correctly.
Yeah,
I
you were
haven't read up on
mentioning,
it in
and
a
I
while.
didn't realize this, but you were mentioning something about experiments, and so there must be some cool lore to this.
The quick rundown, if I remember, and if I get anything wrong, then so sue me. But Aldea was trying to find out how to be immortal like the old dragons. So he was experimenting on all these different monsters, and I think that's where all the monsters in the game come from, is his experimentations, or at least some of the monsters. So it's something like that. Look into it more to actually find what people that know what they're talking about are saying.
Yeah.
So Aldea's Keep I thought was great, and the Dragon Eyrie, I think that's how you pronounce it, like the big floating air, like dragon rocky area. I thought that was great. It just looked awesome, and it was really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that was cool.
yeah, it was just, you never seen it in a Souls game, and still haven't seen it since. And I just, I like it. I like the differentness of it.
Hmm.
Earthen Peak, I liked like the color scheme and just the way it looked. All the like the misty poison stuff is really cool.
Hmm.
And finally, Shrine of Amana and the Brightstone Cove Seldora.
Hmm.
Um, Shrine of Amana is a pain in the ass, but it looks really,
Yes.
really, really cool. And then Brightstone Cove looks, it's pretty cool as well. It's like a town built into like a side of a mountain almost, and
Yeah.
they're all these very interesting areas that, nothing like that has really been seen in any of the Dark Souls games or Demon
Right.
Souls or even Bloodborne. There's always going to be like the castles and like the prison areas and like forests and woods and like, the gutter, Blight Town kind of areas. But those ones in particular are very unique.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. So
No, Shrine of Amano is probably the hardest level for me. Even with
yeah,
all these keep having that monster hallway. I I was dying so much in Shrine of Amana that I ended up doing the thing where you kill the enemies so much they stop respawning. So
yes, I did that a couple times.
it became easier for me as I was going. And I tried to explore it some more, and I don't think I got everything, because there's sometimes I'd look over the water and I'd see some items, and I'm like, I'm just gonna fall if I try to go get that. And even with the
Yeah.
torch, it's like it didn't get me anywhere. And yeah, that'd be a cool one to explore again. There was a lot of. It's funny how the hard ones are fun, but I liked Brightstone Cove. I didn't think that was a hard one, but the layout was really cool, and how
Yeah,
even
looks
that
awesome.
changed a whole lot as you were going. Like you start off, there's that encampment to the left that's really just there for whatever reason. Then
Yeah.
you just go down, and there's the it's like a cathedral or a church or something. Then there's the spiders,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that one is very varied and very fun and interesting to walk through. Another one I liked, it was a section, I think it's the same part or right after that, or right before it. I forget. It's where you start off, where you have to like jump down, and there's like this bridge that goes to that horse boss, but you can't like get to it yet, and you have to like walk around in the forest, and there's like a bridge, and then if you walk
Yeah.
up around, then there's those really hard enemies. They have like the curse, like one has a whip. I
Oh
think
yeah,
one,
yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
and then you have to like go through and kill those guys one by one, and then cross the bridge. That was a neat section.
Yeah.
I forget where that was exactly. But anyway, any other favorite areas you wanted to mention?
I think that's everything. I think No Man's Wharf was actually pretty cool as well. Now
Yeah,
that I think of it, that
that
was a
was.
cool one.
Hmm.
But just in general, I like the layout. I think it's fine. I don't know
Yeah,
why people were so up in arms about it, but
I
it
think
was fine to me.
it's because, and it's like I prefer the layout of Dark Souls 1. I like how everything's connected, but I don't think you could have got so much variation. Like with Dark Souls 2, just everything just felt unique in its own way. Like you can find, it's like in Dark Souls, you really feel like everything is an extension of everything. In Dark Souls 2, it's
Yeah.
like you're in your own unique area. Like, even though some places you could walk to from others, there's, like after Dragon Eyrie, there's another one right after that. It's another dragon level that had those
Yeah.
knights that wouldn't attack you.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this: like, I didn't get that they didn't attack me until like I summoned an NPC, and then he started attacking them, and then they all started attacking me. And I didn't get that. I don't know if it's because he attacked them that they are now fighting me. So I had to play through it again, and then you get to that part where there's that staircase, and there's like 10 of them,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then they would all just rush at me. I'm like, well, fuck. I mean, I'm dead, and I have it recorded, so it looks crazy. I tried fighting them off, and then I went again, and I slowly started walking, and then they started running at me, so I ran away, and then they backed up, and then I slowly started walking again, and then they just stared at me. So I
Oh,
just
that's
kept
weird.
walking and walking, and I walked past them. I was like, okay, I guess everything's fine now.
I
But
I wonder if that's unique to Scholar of the First Sin because um, I don't think that happened when I played. When I got there, it's I think the Dragon Shrine or whatever it's called,
Oh, okay, yeah.
where you see that's where the big giant ancient dragon is, right?
Hmm.
Where he gives you, yeah. I don't think the enemies never didn't attack me.
Mm,
As far as I remember, they acted like just the normal, any normal enemy they see you, they
interesting.
try to attack you, and especially on that staircase leading up to the ancient dragon, they are not shy about attacking.
Damn. Yeah, I couldn't imagine getting through that. I'm lucky they stopped. I don't know if maybe an item I was carrying or maybe depending on how my hollow. I don't know. I don't know. But you never know, man, with these games, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, let's talk about the DLC real quick because I really think they did a good job with this DLC. It's like there's so much to do in this game in the first place. So I'm trying to beat it, and then I'm like, man, I got to do what the DLC areas are, which are not needed for the end of the game, but like I explained at the beginning, how you can access them. So you did it as DLC would come out.
Yeah.
You would then go. Like, did you know where you had to go?
I only knew because I looked it up before the DLC came out, or like the day it came out, and
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just look it up because I'm paying $10 a piece for them as it is.
Yeah.
So I just want to find out exactly where they are and
Right.
just go to it.
That I mean,
Which
because there's no
the
other
DLC in
way.
this game,
Like I.
well, I mean, the DLC in this game is not too bad. You basically, if you looked around, you could find them.
Mhm.
The DLC in Dark Souls, which I don't know if you've done yet,
No.
it's pretty obscure how you like find it, and
Oh, okay.
that I don't see people generally finding out unless you looked it up. I mean, I looked it up. It's not just go to this area and here's a new door. It's pretty weird, of course, because it's Dark Souls, so it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I started a new game a while back on PC, the Prepare to Die edition with the DSi fix. So I'll be getting back to that and hopefully
Excellent.
get to all the DLC. But that's pretty cool that it works like that. Obviously, I would be looking it up too. With Bloodborne, there's a few areas I have in mind that first I want to see
Uh-huh.
if I can, and if not, then I'm gonna look it up. But
Yeah.
so like I said with Scholar, they're already there. After certain areas, you'll see the fountain. You'll go in them. Now, what did you think of the areas? Like, in
Uh,
me, I think they're completely different than the rest of the game.
Yeah, I do too. I think all three of them are great. They're very varied. Um, I know one of them is like a castle, but it's pretty different.
Yeah.
I was very very happy with all three of them.
Yeah.
The sunken city, the old castle, and then like the big snowy area.
Hmm.
All all very cool areas, and each one they use like different things that aren't in Dark that really make them pretty special.
Yeah.
Each one's there's little things in them that are annoying or that I don't like, or you know like the design choices are weird, but you know I bought all three of them. I spent $30 on them. I ended up spending $90 on Dark Souls 2, plus another whatever 50 or 60 when I buy it for PS4. So that's a testament to it right there.
No, it is. I mean, no, thinking $30 for it, like, I haven't completed all the DLC yet, but I've gotten far in all of them except for the Sunken City. That one's hard as shit. But
Yeah, that one's hard.
but
That
there's
one's
so
hard.
much content. Like, my favorite one is, and you'll have to tell me the name of it, is that castle with the big chain.
Yeah.
Like, it totally reminds me of Dark Souls. There's not many bonfires near each other. It's almost maze-like, even though like the layout is given to you. Like you could just, if you just pay attention to your surroundings, you can be like, okay, this is where I am. This is where this is gonna lead. But it does things very interesting. It has the whole thing where you stick that rod into like the burning
Oh yeah.
creature,
Yep.
some weird stuff. And it had a lot of verticalness going to it. Like it was just so
Yeah.
different. And then I tried the winter one, and with all the snow, and that one was beautiful. It was like something totally different you haven't seen yet, with all the snow, and then going through that. Again, it's like it's almost maze-like, and I didn't even find the other. No, I did find the other bonfire actually. It was right It took me a while to find the other bonfire, but I really like how they did that. Now, the Sunken City, like, I started that, and the enemies are pretty tough. Like, I think they have maces, and I have to be very careful. I think shields are going to be important for there. But what made it really hard is then there's archers, multiple archers shooting at you while I'm trying to, and then I get invaded, and I'm like, come on.
Jeez.
And I was like,
jeez.
What was really cool is when you're at the first bonfire there, you can kind of look over and see the city.
Yep. Yeah.
When it said I got invaded, I could see down at the bottom the red
really?
player run, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
That's
Wait
awesome.
a minute, I'm about to die. But no, it was just kind of cool to see that, and I mean, I did pretty good, but they ended up killing me. I don't know if that really actually was an NPC or an actual player. I didn't remember from the name, but and so you've beaten all of them.
Yeah, each one has. They're all kind of set up similarly. Each one has 3 bosses, 2 like main bosses, and then an optional boss. Each DLC has like each DLC has like it's supposed to be like a co-op area, which has one of the optional bosses, and it's like all 3 of them are the hardest areas in the DLC. But you're meant to like do it with another person. But those areas are not the best anyway because they're so incredibly hard.
Wow.
So the DLC, there's 2 bosses. You fight one, and then usually the other boss is somewhere close behind. So I beat all the main bosses. Mm-hmm. There's one optional boss in the winter one, the Crown of the Ivory King. Okay. I didn't beat because the area to get to it was just too hard, and it was too tedious, and I know it was a boss battle that was just not going to be fun anyway because it was a repeat of the first boss of that, but there was 2 of them. So I was like, whatever, it's not worth fighting. So, yeah, so I beat all 3. They're a lot of fun. They were very hard. The bosses I found very, very hard. In fact, I think there was 9 bosses in total. I beat 8 of them. Of the 8 bosses that I beat, I'm pretty sure I had to summon help on 7 of them.
Wow.
So all but one I beat on my own, which at some point, maybe when I get Skull of the First in, I'll try to beat him solo, but they're hard as hell.
Yeah, man. That's good to know because I did find, in general, the bosses in Dark Souls 2 were kind of easy. They were like a lot of them too. Like one of the optional ones I just beat. I don't know if this was DLC related or what. I think it's Vendrick, the king or whatever. Really tall guy with a sword.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know you could fight him because I tried fighting him before, nothing happened, and then I read that you actually have to like keep attacking him or something. And, and then he started fighting me, and even though like 2 hits he would kill me, I would just run behind him. I wouldn't lock on. I would just run behind him, attack him, and then as he's about to swing, I just move again behind him. And again, am I cheesing? Because that's what I did a lot. Like with the dragon, one of the dragon bosses, I just kind of, he'd breathe fire. I just stay away from that, and then when he'd land, I'd chip at his feet. Or it could be that I got good. It could very well be that. Because I don't think there was any boss that I got to that I was like, I can't think of a boss I got to that I was just stuck in like, how am I going to do this? Except for maybe, and this might sound lame, I forget what it's called, the No Man's Wharf double.
Oh, yeah. Flexile Sentry.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Because I think if you take too long on that one, the water rises and then you can't move around.
Yeah, it does.
And I would sometimes play like that where I would take my time to chip away and but anyway, so anything else about Dark Souls 2 we want to talk about? Want to mention?
Well, since you were talking about bosses, I'll try to be quick. That's another point of
like
derision.
Favorite bosses?
Yeah, something like that.
Good idea.
Because I know among fans, what I used to read online, a lot of people don't like a lot of the bosses because a lot of them are, they just throw mobs at you, or you have to fight more than one, and then people complaining that they like copied bosses from Dark Souls, which maybe, but Dark Souls copied bosses from Demon Souls, so whatever.
Yeah.
I thought there was a lot of really good boss fights. Some were pretty crappy. The Dragon Rider battles were really dumb. That Guardian Dragon at the beginning of Dragonary was really crappy. Some of the other ones, some of the trying to think. Oh, there were some good ones. I liked the Throne Watcher and Throne Defender right before you fought the last boss.
Yeah.
What did you think of them? Because that's the boss. That's the boss I've been telling you was very, very, very hard.
No, that one was hard. And here's the funny thing: is I actually had 3 other players with me.
I had to summon to beat them. So
because that's what ended up being really fun for me. At first, I didn't like to do that, but Dark Souls 2 was more fun to summon. So
yep.
Again, I didn't know where to go, so I researched. Oh, you go through at the King's Gate bonfire. I'm like, okay. I spawn there, and I shit you not, there's like 8. Now I have to upload the video. There's like 8 signs. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do them all, but it only lets me do like 3 of them, and
yeah.
And so I do that, and then we go in there, and even with all the players, it was I had to watch my health.
Yeah,
My
that's
health would
a
go
hard
down
one.
pretty quick. So that one, that one was a hard one. I'm trying to think, but I say it was a hard one, but I used help. I think the hardest bosses for me, and I think it's because I was fighting them before I should have, was the spider and the scorpion.
Yep.
The scorpion because I think I did it too early, and the spider because like when it's open for attack, it just like kills you really quick.
Yeah.
The spider's thing where it goes forward or backward and then forward, or it gets you with something. I don't know. I just remember like those. I had to go back later. Like I would go and like fix myself up a little bit. Again, boss designs I liked, and some of them were weird. I liked the one that was like a frog that had like a face with hands come out.
Oh, I love that one. That's probably my favorite looking boss of the whole game, and one of my favorite looking bosses of the whole series, if not my favorite boss, my favorite looking boss of the entire series. I thought it was just awesome.
Yeah, like not only does it look crazy, but I think it like the graphics were really good. Like its model, it was like really like high poly count looking hands. Like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Was really good. I'm trying to think of my favorite kinds of bosses are the ones that look very demonic in these games. Like, so like, I really like the last boss. The look of the last boss of the main game.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. I like her.
Okay, so it's a she. What's her name?
Nishandra.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, she's supposed to be the queen.
It reminded me of Nito.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Yeah, I think there's strong like similarities, at least in their look.
Well, then I came across an NPC that might have been Nito. Like I remember reading his name was like similar to that. He was in that area where I think this is where it was, where if you use your torch, the undead area, if you use your torch, like they
turn hostile to you, right?
Yeah, there's the NPC there, and that I think was supposed to be related to Nito, or was Nito, but then it's the undead area, and he's supposed to be the first of the dead, or I don't know.
I remember.
Every once in a while, there are the little lore things that, and leading up to that boss fight in that undead area. So you remember, like, you walk in and it's a long hallway, and there's like guards at the end, and then there's like if you let the enemies under the stairs ring the bell, like the wizards appear.
Oh yeah, yep.
And then it didn't dawn on me until later that you go down there and there's like 3 to kill, like they trigger to walk toward it. The bell.
Yep.
And then later I figured out when I had to go fight King Vendrick or whatever that I could just run past, through the side and no one will attack me.
Yeah.
But
that area is tough.
Yeah, that area is tough, and I don't think I explored it all the way now that I think about it. Because there's the area with all the rocks, all the stones you hit, and if you hit the bell, then the wizards come, and then it's like shit.
Well, I will say that a lot of the bosses are like humanoid, or they're like they're straight up knights. And like you, I enjoy like the monster bosses, which is why I like that frog boss, the Demon of Song. I like him a lot. I will say the Pursuer, who you fight very early on, I thought was a great boss.
That was
really fun to fight. Yeah. I mean, he's a little boring looking, I guess, but he's really fun to fight.
And you can kill him with the what do you call it? Those things that were sitting there that you can like pull back and fire the
Oh
arrow.
yeah,
You can actually
yeah.
kill him with that.
I've never been able to hit him with it. He moves too fast, and I can never get him to like I
Yeah.
don't know stand in front of the thing. I was gonna say something else. I think I like the look of the Looking Glass Knight. I think he's really cool. Otherwise,
Yeah, speaking of Looking Glass, real quick. So that's one that will actually summon invaders.
yeah,
And it will, and they're usually NPCs, but I read that it can actually summon player invaders. If there's someone
yeah.
looking to be summoned for invasion, which I think is a really neat aspect of
It's
the boss
awesome.
battle. Yeah.
I don't think it's utilized well enough because
Yeah.
I've fought that boss a lot of times, and I think the only time I ever saw a human invader, like one time, everything else is an NPC.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because there's a boss in Demon Souls that is very similar to that.
Oh.
Although I don't know if that mechanic really works anymore because the servers, as far as I know, are still live,
Yeah.
but I don't think I've ever seen that mechanic work. I won't spoil it in case
Yeah. Okay.
when you play it you'll
Yeah.
actually get there, but it's pretty neat. I like the Covetous Demon, that big giant like blob, fat looking guy
Where was
who's
that?
in the I think it's Earthen Peak or the area right after Earthen Peak. He looks like Jabba the Hutt kind of. He's like a real big fat guy.
Oh, was that the
He's
black?
not that hard, but he
Um,
looks real cool.
what was it called? He was no, it was the area after the gutter. Oh no, I guess not. Maybe
No,
I'm thinking of
that's
something else.
no. The Rotten is also
Oh,
he
the
looks
rotten. That's
awesome.
just, okay. I see. Harvest Valley. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Harvest Valley. That's
Covetous
it.
Demon. Okay. Yeah. I guess bringing up the wiki on this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Looking at
I'm actually on the wiki as well right now.
yeah, looking at some of
Um,
these bosses. Yeah, that Demon of Song from Shrine of Amana. Yeah, that one looked
yeah,
cool.
love it.
Um,
Yeah. Um, Velstadt, the Royal Aegis, who you fight at the end of the catacombs or undead crypt, whatever the hell it's called, bears a very strong resemblance to another character from Demon Souls that you also have to fight. Who's well, he's a boss. They look very very similar, and they have very very similar job descriptions basically. So I thought that was interesting. Again, I won't spoil that, but we can talk about that at some point. I guess to stop my rambling, the last boss that I would want to talk about is Dark Lurker, and I don't know if you fought Dark Lurker. He's an optional boss that you have to go through. You have to join the
no, I see that, and that's yeah. I'm just looking at this now, and I'm like, I never saw this one.
it. You have to join a covenant, and then you have to go through these various areas in the covenant. You have to beat these three areas to get access to this boss, and
Ah, because
it's
I'm
probably
now
like
remembering that where you see the old man in the wheelchair, and there's that
yes,
circle
yep.
on the ground. Okay, yeah, because I did one of them, and I didn't know what that was about. I'm like, okay, I'm done.
No, it's
And
super hard. Those are probably like the hardest areas of the game, and then this boss is very, very difficult as well. But he looks great, and even though he's really hard, it's a fun battle.
yeah, the boss
Um,
looks cool. And then yeah, so I'm reading. There's Aldia, scholar of the first sin. So
yeah, that's the new one.
okay, so that well, it says actually it's from the original game, not even in the DLC. You have to answer yes to his questions during all his encounters, and defeated both Vendrick and Nishandra. It's the true final
Okay.
boss. That I I don't know when I saw this guy and had to answer yes.
Yeah, whenever I get Skull of the First Sin, I'll definitely make sure that I can fight him because I'd like to because it's pretty cool that he's there, and I know it's all lore related, and I don't
Yeah.
know his lore too well, so I'd have to maybe look that up or something. But
Okay.
it's pretty cool, and I'd like to fight him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, man, yeah. Looking at this makes me think, man, I need to go back and play these couple bosses
Yeah.
that I missed. But anyway, so I guess we'll close this out. I mean, closing thoughts are, I think Dark Souls 2 is the, I think probably the best way they could have done the sequel. I mean, it doesn't have to be as good, but it's like still really good, and it does things different. I
Yep.
think it keeps it fresh because it's still Dark Souls, but it's just so different enough, you know?
Yeah. I before it came out, I was super excited about it. You know, I was hyping myself up, reading stuff about it, and I wasn't disappointed when it came out. I thought it was awesome. I was confused why so many people seem to hate it. They say, oh, you know, like either just outright don't play it, or, you know, it's okay, but it's not the best in the series. And, you know, you can rank it wherever you want, you know, as far as compared to the other games. But I would say I had more fun with Dark Souls 2 than I did with Bloodborne.
Wow.
I mean, in our first episode, I'm pretty sure I said Dark Souls 2 is my favorite.
Yeah.
And it can change on a daily basis, but
Yeah, definitely.
what I want to say is I loved it.
You
and
love
I played through
Dark
it.
Souls 2. That is your favorite game.
I love it. And I don't understand the hate. Why does everyone hate it so much? I understand why they hate it so much, but I don't think it's necessary. I think people,
what it is yeah, it's gamers, like, they're just so passionate, and it's like, this doesn't play like Dark Souls, but you know what? That same person probably played through the whole thing, you know, New Game Plus. You know, they're gonna play it anyway. Their opinion is gonna be that much more strong one way or another, because it's still better than most games.
basically every other. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it just is.
And you know, it's funny because when Dark Souls came out, there was people saying, you know, this game is good, but it's not as good as Demon Souls. You know, and it's like the same thing, but now Dark Souls is looked at through these rose-colored glasses of nostalgia, like, oh, it was a perfect game, there's no flaws or nothing. And I assume we'll have a Dark Souls podcast at some point, so I'll save it for that. But Dark Souls is not a perfect game, and Dark Souls 2 improves upon a lot of things from Dark Souls. So just everyone, just play Dark Souls 2, all right? Stop being shitheads about it.
Yeah, well, all right, well, that's it for this episode of the Soulscast. Let us know what you guys think about Dark Souls 2 yourself. But, you know, don't say the wrong thing. Shane will get mad.
Yep. Don't say bad things about Dark Souls 2.
Well, all right, guys, we will see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.